Hello everyone, good morning. How are you all today? You all good? Great? Awesome. Yes, super. Yeah, I am good too. Thank you. So how was the day going on? Is it a good day? Beautiful day? Good? Yeah. Did you have your breakfast? Everyone? So you're all ready? You're set for the class? Yes, very good. Okay. So before we moving on to the lesson, let me tell you a story first. Okay, are you ready for the story? Yes, we all love stories. And this story, this is a true story, a true event that took place in my own home. Okay. So, one day, I made a cake. You know, we all love cakes, right? Yeah. So, I made a beautiful cake. And I made it in the night time. So, I put the cake in the refrigerator. And I went for sleep. And the next day morning, I was very busy because I have a job. So I have to finish my works in the kitchen and I have to go for my job. So I was very busy in the morning. I totally forgot about the cake. And I went for my job. And during my job, during my work hours, I remembered about the cake and I was very happy thinking about it because there is cake in the refrigerator. I can have it when I return back home. So I was very happy thinking about it. And I returned back home in the evening. And I ran to the refrigerator and I opened it. And I looked for the cake, but it was not there. I was shocked. What happened to my cake? And I called Mom, Mom, where is the cake? Where is my cake? And she came and she said, oh, the cake. Yeah, the cake was eaten. She said, the cake was eaten. I was standing like this. What? Who ate it? She said, oh, I don't know. It was eaten. That's what she said. So what did she say? What did my mother say? The cake was eaten. The cake was eaten. She didn't mention who did the eating, who is the subject there. He only mentioned the thing, the cake was eaten. So this type of a sentence, we call it the passive voice. What is this? The passive voice. The passive voice. In English, we can see the active form. So to learn more about the passive voice, we have to know the active voice first. So what is the active voice? The active voice. For example, if I know who did the eating, I would say, or my mother would say, what? The children ate the cake. What she would say? The children ate the cake. So there is the subject, children, and the verb, ate, and the cake, that is the object. So this we know, a simple, regular, very normal type of English sentence. And this type of sentence we call the active voice because there is the subject, the doer of the action, and the verb is there, and the object, the one or which that receives the action, the recipient of the action is there. So this is called an active sentence, active voice. But when the object became the subject of the sentence, that is, the subject got no relevance, or the subject is not important, or when we don't want to disclose the subject, as my mother did. She didn't want to disclose who did the eating. So we don't want to disclose, we don't want to blame the subject, or it's not important. We use the passive voice or the passive form of the sentence. The cake was eaten. So in the passive form, the object of the original active sentence got the importance. What happened to the cake is the important thing there. So the cake is the important thing there. And what happened to the cake? It was eaten. So the object got the prominence. The object got more importance there in the passive voice, rather than who did the action, rather than who did the eating. Get it? Then we use the passive voice. So that is why we learn passive voice. When I was a student, when I was learning passive voice, usually there will be an active voice and there will be questions. Change the sentence into the passive voice. So we do the changing, and yes, we turn the sentence from active to the passive form. But many times we don't know why are we doing it. What is the purpose of learning passive voice? Why do we learn it? Why is it important? It is important because when we don't know who the subject is, or when we want to be objective, when we want to give more importance to the object, to what happened to the object of the sentence, we have to use the passive voice. Or when we don't want to disclose who did the action, or when it's not important, the subject is not important and the object got more importance, we have to use the passive voice. Okay, that is why we have to learn the passive voice thoroughly. It is very important. And in, especially in newspapers, when we read news, when the journalists, they don't know who did something or who did the murder, who did the thing, they use the passive voice. So while we read newspapers, we can come across many times through passive voice sentences. So from now on, when you read newspapers, you have to check for the passive sentences. Will you do it? Yes. And in scientific reports and in, law documents, illegal documents, there is a high usage of the passive voice because the information must be objective rather than subjective. So who did the action is not important, but the important thing is what is the object? What is the objective information? So when the information becomes more objective, it has to be more objective. We prefer the passive voice rather than the active form of the sentence. Okay, get it? So that is why we need to learn the passive voice. So are you ready to learn more about the passive voice? And let's learn how can we transform, how can we turn a sentence from its active form to its passive form. We have to learn it. Are you ready? Now look at this sentence. My mother bore me on July 23rd, 1994. My mother bore me on July 23rd, 1994. So what kind of a sentence is that? When we examine the sentence, there is the subject. Who is the subject? My mother, yes. And there is the verb bore. What she did? She bore. And she bore him. She bore me. And on July 23rd, 1994 is the prepositional phrase. Let it aside. So, my mother bore me on July 23rd, 1994. It's an active sentence because there is the pattern, there is the subject, and the subject is the one who does the action bearing me, right? So the subject is the one who does the action there, and there is the verb and object. Now, let's consider the same sentence in a different manner. What is it? I was born on July 23rd, 1994. So, me, who was the object there, became the subject in this sentence. Who was the object there? Me. And that me became the subject of the new sentence. And I was born and something happened to me, that is, I was born on July 23rd, 1994. This is a passive form of sentence. So the active form of this sentence is this. But here, the thing which is the most important thing is here that I am born, and on which day I am born is the important thing here. Who born me, who bore me is not the important thing here. So the subject is no more important in the passive voice. But what is the important thing? What happened to the object? Object became the important thing in a passive voice sentence. Okay, so in that situation, we have to use the passive form of the sentence. Now let's consider some more examples. When we order something online, we always order something online. So when we order, there will be a confirmation message. It comes to our mobile phone. And what would be the message? Your order will be sent by standard delivery. Or it can be your order will be delivered on 29th June or whatever. So what is the important thing there? Your order. They can say, we will be sending your order by standard delivery. They can say that. We will be sending. There, the importance is given to the subject. When they say, we will be sending your order, the importance is given to the subject. But when they say, your order will be sent by standard delivery, the importance is given to the object, that is, your order. Your order is important for the company. Not who is delivering is important. Rather, what is important? Your order is important. So, your order will be sent by standard delivery. That is the passive. That is in passive voice. Next, this house was built in 1950. Who built the house? That's not important. That's not relevant in the case. But what is important? They built the house, or the builders. There is some builders, or more than one builders, whoever. So some builders, the builders built the house. But the builders is not the important thing here now. But what is important? The house is important. The house became important thing, and this house was built in 1950. Okay. His car has been stolen. Who has stolen the car? We don't know. We don't know who has stolen the car, who has stolen the car. But the only thing we know is the car has been stolen. His car has been stolen. There, we don't know who did the stealing. We don't know. Then, I haven't been invited to the party. There is a party. So, one of your friends came to you and she asked, aren't you coming to the party? And I was like, oh, is there a party? Oh, I didn't know about it. I haven't been invited to the party. I have other things to do, so I'll be engaged. I'm not coming. So I don't want to mention the person who didn't invite me to the party, because I don't want to seem angry towards that person. I don't want to mention his or her name who doesn't do the thing. So I only said that I haven't been invited to the party. I'm okay with that. I haven't been invited. So I don't want to say the name of the person who didn't invite me. Then I used the passive voice. I haven't been invited to the party. So these are some common occasions we use the passive voice. That is, mainly in three occasions we use the passive voice. When it's not important, when the subject is not important, or when it's not important to mention the subject, rather the object is the most important thing. In that case, we use the passive voice. That is, Your order is important. The object is the most important thing here. Who is delivering your order is not the important thing. So we use passive voice. Then we don't know who did the action. When we don't know the subject, when we don't know the doer of the action, we use passive voice. Here in this case, this house was built when we don't know who built the house, or when we don't know who has stolen the car, we can use passive voice. We don't know who the subject is, who the doer is. And in another occasion where we don't want to say, we don't want to disclose who the subject is. We don't want to blame the subject, or we don't want to make him into trouble. So in that occasions too, we use the passive form. I haven't been invited to the party. So we don't want to mention the name of the subject. Who didn't invite me? Or in the first case, the cake was eaten. So my mom, she doesn't want to mention the name of the person who did the eating. She doesn't want to make them into trouble. So she just used the cake was eaten. So in that case also, we use the passive voice of the sentence. Okay. So what did she say? What did my mother say? The cake was eaten. The cake was eaten. She didn't mention who did the eating, who is the subject there. He only mentioned the thing, the cake was eaten. So this type of a sentence, we call it the passive voice. What is this? The passive voice. The passive voice. In English, we can see the active form. So to learn more about the passive voice, we have to know the active voice first. So what is the active voice? The active voice. For example, if I know who did the eating, I would say, or my mother would say, what? The children ate the cake. What she would say? The children ate the cake. So there is the subject, children, and the verb ate, and the cake, that is the object. So this we know a simple, regular, very normal type of English sentence, and this type of sentence we call the active voice, because there is the subject, the doer of the action, and the verb is there, and the object, the one or which that receives the action, the recipient of the action is there. So this is called an active sentence, active voice. But when the object became the subject of the sentence, that is, the subject got no relevance, or the subject is not important, or when we don't want to disclose the subject, as my mother did, she didn't want to disclose who did the eating. So we don't want to disclose, we don't want to blame the subject, or it's not important, we use the passive voice or the passive form of the sentence. The cake was eaten. So in the passive form, the object of the original active sentence got the importance. What happened to the cake is the important thing there. So the cake is the important thing there. And what happened to the cake? It was eaten. So the object got the prominence, the object got more importance there in the passive voice, rather than who did the action, rather than who did the eating. Get it? Then we use the passive voice. So That is the important, that is why we learn passive voice. When I was a student, when I was learning passive voice, usually there will be an active voice and there will be questions, change the sentence into the passive voice. So we do the changing, and yes, we turn the sentence from active to the passive form, but many times we don't know why are we doing it. What is the purpose of learning passive voice? Why do we learn it? Why is it important? It is important because when we don't know who the subject is, or when we want to be objective, when we want to give more importance to the object, to what happened to the object of the sentence, we have to use the passive voice. Or when we don't want to disclose who did the action, or when it's not important, the subject is not important and the object got more importance, we have to use the passive voice. Okay, that is why we have to learn the passive voice thoroughly. It is very important. And in, especially in newspapers, when we read news, when the journalists, they don't know who did something or who did the murder, who did the thing, they use the passive voice. So while we read newspapers, we can come across many times through passive voice sentences. So from now on, when you read newspapers, you have to check for the passive sentences. Will you do it? Yes. And in scientific reports and in, law documents, illegal documents, there is a high usage of the passive voice because the information must be objective rather than subjective. So who did the action is not important, but the important thing is what is the object? What is the objective information? So when the information becomes more objective, it has to be more objective. We prefer the passive voice rather than the active form of the sentence. Okay, get it? So that is why we need to learn the passive voice. So are you ready to learn more about the passive voice? And let's learn how can we transform, how can we turn a sentence from its active form to its passive form. We have to learn it. Are you ready? Okay, let's move on. Okay, so now let's see how to change the sentence from its active form to its passive form. Okay, see, we have already learned that it is important to learn passive voice. What is its important, its relevance, everything we have known now. And now we have to learn how to turn a sentence from its active form to the passive form. So for that, there are 6 steps to change a sentence from passive form to its from active form to its passive form. 6 steps. So to learn these steps, let's examine a sentence. Let's go back to our first sentence about the cake, and let's examine how a sentence is turning from active to its passive form. Okay, let's see. Yes. So the first rule, the first step is identify the subject, verb and object of the active sentence. That is the first rule. So take our active sentence, that is, this is our active sentence, and identify the subject, verb and object of the active sentence. So here in this case, who is the subject here? Yes, children. The children is the subject here. So children, the subject, and verb. Ate is the verb. And what about the object? What is object? Yes, the cake is the object. So we have identified the subject, verb and the object of the active sentence. Then what about the next step? We have completed the first step. Next, make the object the subject of our new sentence. What is the next step? make the object of our previous active sentence the subject of our new sentence. How to make it? That is which is the object of our previous sentence? It is the cake, right? So we have to make the object of our active sentence the new subject of our new sentence. So what is our new subject? The cake. So our new subject will be the cake, which was the object of our previous active sentence. Now, there is the third step. Find out the tense used in the original active sentence. Find out the tense, the verb tense used in the original active sentence. So how to find out in which tense our original active sentence is? We have to see the verb. So in which tense the verb is in? Yes, ate. We know ate is the past tense of eat. Eat, ate. So ate is the past tense of eat and our active sentence is in simple past form, right? Yes. So now we have found out what the tense used in the original active sentence. It is simple past. Simple past. Now, the next step, conjugate the verb be. This is a very important sentence, a very important step because passive sentences exist in all types of tenses. So we have to make sure that in which form our active sentence is, in which tense our active sentence is, and we have to make the according changes. So conjugate the verb be. In which form of the verb be our active sentence is in? So we know the forms of verb be. What are the important forms? What are the forms of verb be? Verb be can be, it can be is, am, are in present tense, and it can be was or were in past tense, and in perfect tense it can be been, has been or had been, right? In present or perfect, in present perfect or past perfect it will be has been or in present perfect it will be has been and in past perfect it will be had been. So these are the forms of the verb be. These are the forms of verb be. Is, am, are, was, were, has been or had been. So we have to find out in which form of the verb be we have to use in our new passive sentence. So this is the symbol, the sentence, the tense, verb tense is in simple past. We have already know. So the simple past form of the verb be or the past form of the verb be is was or were. So according to the subject we have to make, or we have to choose whether it will be was or were. So our subject is the cake. So we can use was, right? Yes. Did you get it? So since the subject is singular, the conjugate, the verb form of the verb be is here in the simple past form. It is in past, it will be was or were. Be will be changed into was or were. But here the sentence is singular, so we choose was. Okay. So the cake was. So the 4 steps are over. Next, add the past participle of the main verb after be. Past participle of the main verb. Which is the main verb here? Ate. That is eat, ate, eaten. Eat, ate, eaten. These are the 3 forms of the verb eat. V1, V2 we three. Eat, ate, eaten, right? So which is the past participle of the verb here? The verb here is ate. It is in past form. So its form is, basic form is eat. Past participle of eat is eaten. So use the past participle, add the past participle of the verb after the form of be. Verb form be. So we know it. It is eat. Eaten. The cake was eat. So our sentence, our passive sentence is formed. First, what did we do? We made the object of our active sentence into the subject as the subject of our new sentence. Then we check in which tense our active sentence is in, and we can understand that it is in past tense. So we used the form of be, which is past, which is in past tense, that is was or were. So from was or were, we chose was because the subject is singular. So the cake was. Then we add the past participle of the verb in the active sentence. That is, past participle of the eat is eaten. So the cake was eaten. Then finally, the subject of the active sentence. We have to decide what we have to do with the subject of the active sentence. This is the subject of our active sentence, the children, right? So we have to decide what to do with this subject. We can add the subject into our new passive sentence with using the word by. So the cake was eaten by the children. We can add the subject of our active sentence, that is here in this case the children. We can add it using the word by. Okay, so our new sentence, passive sentence is formed. So what are the rules? First of all, we have to identify the subject, verb and object. Then we have to make the object of our active sentence as the new subject of our new passive sentence. Then, so in which form our verb tense in the active sentence is used? So it is in simple past form. So we use the simple past form of the verb be, and we know it must be was because the subject is singular. So was. Then we used the past participle of the main verb. So past participle of the verb eat is eaten. So we use eaten. Then we can add the subject of our active sentence with the word by in the end. So the cake was eaten by the children. Or if you don't want to add the subject of the sentence, of the active sentence, that's fine. The cake was eaten, as my mother said, that was also fine. The cake was, she only told the cake was eaten. She didn't want to mention the subject. So that was also alright. But when we want to add the subject who did the action, we can use the cake was eaten. We can use the word by, and we can add the subject of the active sentence. Okay. So we have studied the 6 steps to transform a sentence from its active form to its passive form. Now let's examine some more sentences, how to turn these active sentences into passive sentences. Let's check. Are you ready? Okay. So our first sentence is, we bought our car last month. So here is a story. We bought our car last month. Somebody has stolen our car. The police will investigate the case. We didn't use the car even for a month. So these are our active sentences. Now let's turn these sentences into passive form. So here, when we examine these sentences, we know there is a subject and there is a verb done by the subject, and there is an object which receives the action. and the time mentioned. So, how to turn this sentence into passive sentence? What is the first step? Identify the subject, verb and object of the active sentence. So, we know who is the subject here. Subject is we. We is the subject. And what about the verb? Boat is the verb and the object is our car. So next, what is the next step? Make the object the subject of our new sentence. So now we know what the object is. Now we have to make the object of the active sentence into the subject of our new sentence. That is, what is the object? Our car. So our car will be our new subject of our new sentence. Then what is the next step? Find out the tense used in the original active sentence. In which tense our original active sentence is in? What is the verb tense here? The verb is boat. So the tense is simple past, yes. So our active sentence is in simple past tense. So now we know that our active sentence is in simple past form. Now the fourth step, conjugate the verb be. Conjugate the verb be. That is, we have to find out which form of the verb be can be used in our new passive sentence. Which form of the verb be can be used? We know that our sentence is in simple past. So the simple past form of the verb be can be used in our new sentence, and the past forms are was or were, we know. So our subject, we have to know to choose between was or were, we have to know our subject, that is singular. Our subject here is our car. Car is singular. So we have to use was. So we have conjugated the past form of the verb be, and since our subject is singular, we chose was. Then the fifth step, add the past participle of the main verb after be. Now we have to examine our verb is boat, and we have to find the past participle of the verb boat. So we know that the verb boat is past of the verb by both boat. What is the past participle of the verb? Is boat. So we have to use the past participle of our verb, that is boat. Here our car was boat. Then subject of the active sentence. What we have to do with the subject of our active sentence? Who is the subject of our active sentence? We. So either we can use the subject, or we don't need it, or it's not important, we can exclude it. But okay, we can use it with the word by. So our sentence will be, our car was bought by us. Since it's we, then it became by us, and the time of the verb is last month. So what will be our new sentence? Our car was bought. If we want to add our subject, by us and last month. So our car was bought by us last month. Month is there. So our car was bought by us last month, or it can be our car was bought last month. It's also fine. So the topic of the sentence changed from we to our car. Our car became important here in the passive sentence. But in the active sentence, we were the important thing. Who bought the car was the important thing. That was the subject of the active sentence. But when it comes to passive sentence, the object, that is our car, became more important than who bought the car. Okay, So that is the passive sentence. That is the relevance of a passive sentence. Now, next sentence. There is another active sentence. Somebody has stolen our car. See, we bought our car and something happened to our car. What happened? Somebody has stolen our car. See? So, how to make this sentence? How to turn this sentence into a passive sentence? So, first what we should do? We have to identify the subject, verb and object. Who is the subject? Somebody. Somebody, we don't know. Somebody is the subject. And verb is has stolen. Has stolen is the verb. And object is our car. Again, our car is the object. So, to turn this sentence into a passive sentence, make the object, second step, make the object the subject of our new sentence. So, the object is our car. So, we made the object of our active sentence to the subject of a new sentence, our car. Then what is the next step? Conjugate the verb be. Which form of verb be we should use here? Because we have to find, before that we have to find out, sorry, I skipped the third step. We have to find out the verb tense used in the active sentence. So when we look at the verb tense, it is has stolen. Which is the verb tense here? Has stolen. That the verb tense is in perfect, right? It is perfect tense. So the perfect form of the verb be is, we know it is been. The perfect form of the verb be is been. And now we have to add the past participle of the main verb after be. So main verb's past participle. So main verb is here stolen. Stolen. So we know that stolen is the past participle of the verb steal. Steal, stole, stolen. These are the three forms of the verb steal. So the past participle will be stolen. So how will our new sentence will be look like? Our car has been stolen, past participle. Then if we want to add the subject of our previous active sentence, we can add it with the word by. A car has been stolen by somebody, we don't know. Who did it? By somebody. So this is our new passive sentence. Our car has been stolen. Okay. Now the third sentence. The police will investigate the case. So we have informed the missing case and we hope that the police will investigate the case. How to change this sentence into a passive form? So first, we have to understand the subject, verb and the object. Subject is the police, verb is will investigate and the case is the object. Then we have to make the object as the new subject of the new sentence. The object is the case. So, the object will be the new subject in our passive sentence, the case. Then find out the tense used in the original sentence. What is the tense used in the original sentence? Will investigate. It is in future tense, yes. Then conjugate the verb be. Which form of verb be will be used here? It will be because it's in future form. We have to use will be since it is in future form. So will be. Then add the past participle of the main verb. What is the past participle of the main verb? Main verb is investigate. What is the past participle of main verb? Investigate, investigated, investigated. That is the three forms. So past participle will be investigated. So the case will be investigated. Then we can add the subject, that is the police, with the word by the police. Okay, clear? Yeah. Now let's examine one more sentence. We didn't use the car even for a month. Unfortunately, we didn't use the car even for a month. So what are the things we should notice now? The 6 steps, right? First, identify the subject we, verb didn't use, and the object, the car, and there is the prepositional phrase, that is, additional details of the sentence. So what is the first thing we have to do? Make the subject make the object of the active sentence as the new subject. So the object is the car. This is the subject we didn't use. This is the verb. So this is the object. So make the object of the active sentence as the new subject. So the new subject will be the car. So the car. And next step, find out the tense used in the active sentence. Which tense didn't use? It is in simple past, and simple past negative form is used. So the tense is simple past. Then which verb form of verb be can be used here? We have to conjugate the verb be. So since it is in simple past, we can use was or were. So the car is singular, so we choose for was. So was, the verb form of was, since it is in past tense, we can use was or were. So subject is singular. As the subject is singular, we use was. So the car was, and since it is in negative, we can use wasn't. It's a negative sentence. So wasn't. The car wasn't. Then we have to add the past participle of the main verb. Which is the main verb here? Use is the main verb. What is the past participle of use? Use, used, used. So the car wasn't used as the past participle. The car wasn't used. Then we can add the subject of the previous active sentence with the word by. And since it's we, we'll use us. The car wasn't used by us. Then we can add the additional information, the prepositional phrase, whatever it is. We can use the next information, that is even for a month. The car wasn't used by us even for a month. So our new passive sentence is formed. Here the importance is given to the object, that is the car. Okay. So this is how we make passive sentences. This is how we turn an active sentence into a passive sentence. You get it? It's easy, right? It's very interesting. It's easy. Okay. Now I'll give you some. So we have all learned. I hope you understood. So now we have some exercises to do. Some more exercises in our textbook. So you have to complete those exercises when you come tomorrow. If you have any doubt or you need further clarification, you can approach me. So that's all for today. So how are you? Is it easy? Yeah, it's a simple topic, right? It's an interesting topic. The only things you have to remember that passive voice is very important to learn, and how to change the active sentence into a passive sentence. To change the active sentence into passive, you have to remember these 6 steps. That first you have to identify the subject, verb and object. Then turn the object of the month to our new subject. Then find out the verb tense used in our active sentence. Then conjugate the verb be according to the verb tense. Then add the past participle after be. Then you can choose whether you want to include the subject of our active sentence, and if you want to include, you can include it with the word by. Okay, so these are the very simple 6 steps to turn an active sentence into a passive sentence. So now you understood. It's easy, right? Yeah, very good. For today, and you have to complete the exercises. And I'll give you some more exercises, and we'll complete the exercises. And if you have any doubt, you can approach me. Okay. So that's all for today. Thank you.